Hello, good morning, friends. Today we are going to discuss about the French Revolution. French Revolution was a world revolution because today also it has its relevance. Today each and every country wants to get liberty. The word liberty or equality and fraternity is the three jewel of the world today, and that these three keywords that developed during the French Revolution and was achieved also. So French Revolution was not a revolution of France, it was the revolution of the world revolution. And first of all, European countries got the benefit, and afterwards the whole world got benefit from the French Revolution. Now without wasting time, now let me start the topic. And this is a very long topic we'll be discussing in 3 class. Now without wasting time, let me start. The French Revolution, first always ask 3 questions before starting: when, where, and why. Other questions also you can ask. So when means here in at what time it took place. In 1789 it took place in where it took place in France, and why we'll study in a very large scale. And you see, I have written here 1789 and 1889. I wrote it deliberately because very few people must be knowing this one, that after 100 years of French Revolution, that is 1889, the Eiffel Tower was built. I have written here Eiffel Tower. Recently I went to Paris and I saw there that below the Eiffel Tower there is a place where it's written that the chief engineer, I am forgetting his full name, the Eiffel was his title. So under his leadership, the Eiffel Tower was built. So if you can remember, Eiffel Tower was built in memory of the French Revolution. So just now we came to know about when, where, why. Now there are 4 circumstances which led to the French Revolution. It's not causes, it's are the circumstances which led to the French Revolution. The first one is privileges by birth. The French society was of 3 classes. In the first class were coming the nobles and the clergies. Particularly you can see the clergies and the church was in the first class, and second class was the nobles, and the third was your common man. So these 2 class, the nobles and the clergies, they were getting all the privileges. In the coming chapter we'll see who were the nobles and clergies. For your knowledge, let me tell you that kings, queens, and the rich peoples, they were getting all the privileges. Privileges means here they were not paying any tax and were enjoying their life, luxurious life. So, and they were getting all the facilities by birth. Second one is France and England, they had enmity, and France was secretly helping the United States colonies. 13 colonies were there. They were trying to get independent from the clutch of England. So here France was helping them, and that also became, because of this help, the treasure of France became empty, and that became also was one of the cause of French Revolution. Third one is concentration of power among the privileged. All the powers were concentrated in the hands of the nobles and the clergies. So there was nothing for the commoners, and that is why it became also another cause of the French Revolution. The fourth point is subsistence crisis. In subsistence crisis, you know that always demand and supply. Nowadays also, demand eats supply and supply eats demand. For example, that pen is my demand, and then market is supplying. So here, before French Revolution, there was a big problem of the bread problem. So there was less supply of bread, and demand was more. So there was a gap between the demand and supply, and that was also is another reason of the French Revolution. So in substance crisis you can write about the supply of bread. Simple reason, you can write simple answer, that there was less supply of bread and the demand was more, and there was a gap between the demand and supply, and that also became one of the reason of the French Revolution. The fifth point was that growing middle class. As the time was passing, that many people were, particularly they went abroad or they were busy in overseas. I'm written here overseas trade, and they went outside, and after that they earned a lot of money, and after coming back they demanded equality from the first and second class. So the growing middle class also, they played the important role, unique role in French Revolution. So these 5 circumstances which led to the French Revolution. Now without wasting time, let us proceed about the causes of French Revolution. The first one is called political, second social, third is economic, fourth one is philosophical, and another point is that the next page is there, that is called immediate cause. So without wasting, now let us discuss one of the first causes called political cause. Friends, let me tell you again, the causes are the political, social, economic, philosophical, and immediate cause. You can see here the 5 causes. Now without wasting time, let us discuss. Now in political cause, the first point is we have to write 5 sub points. The first point is autocratic rule of Louis XIV, 1516. Here the name Louis 14, 15, 16. This is the historical name, it's not real name. And all of you know that the term autocratic itself, it says you can divide it auto and cratic. Auto means one and cratic means rule. So rule by one ruler is called autocratic rule. Here this is not required. So the word itself says that when a king rules single with iron hand, he doesn't listen or she doesn't listen to anyone, and that type of rule is called autocratic. And here the Louis 14, 15 and 16 where their rule was very autocratic. Whatever they said, that became law, and they ruled the country with an iron hand. Their will was law. So this is unacceptable today. At that time they were ruling like this. The next one is called inefficient administration. In inefficient administration, why it's called inefficient administration? The high posts were given to the nobles and aristocrats. Secondly, there were governors in the provinces, but they did not have councils to help them. And the administration lacked coordination. There was no coordination between or among particularly the royal families and the provincial governors and the lower workers. So there was no coordination, lack of coordination was there. And almost all the officials were selfish. They did not take care of the people. They did not think of the welfare of the people. So inefficient administration, you can write about this. The third point is you can write maladministration of justice. Maladministration, it's the word itself says that wrong administration of justice. Here in this maladministration, you can write about there was great confusion in the legal system of the country. There were no uniform laws for the whole country. Different laws were there. It is said that 400 laws were there. And all the laws were written in the Latin language, and common man did not know the Latin language, so they were unable to read and understand. So there was a lot of confusion among the people that what was written in the law. And last, here you can write, in this point you can write, there were 3 courts, then royal courts, military courts, and the church court. And even their jurisdiction was not clearly defined. So there was a lot of chaos and confusion here also. That's why it's called maladministration of justice. And the fourth one is called weak monarchy or incapable monarchy. Always, whatever profession you can say that, whether it's a political leadership or whether it's a you can say teaching, whether it's you can say the doctor, everywhere you need experience. So here the Louis 14 definitely he had experience, but his son Louis 15 did not have any experience. Louis 15 and Louis 16, they really became responsible because they did not have any experience, and Louis 15 did not have any experience at all, and he was a coward, he was foolish and spendthrift. He increased the sufferings of the people by his luxurious life and warlike policy. He only took France in, because of him only that France took part actively against the England and held the American colonies. So here you can write here that the rulers were weak as well as incapable. They did not have any experience to handle the situation. The fifth one is absence of any representative body. Now every country have their representative body system. For example, in India we have parliament. In parliament we have Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. In United States they have Senate. Presidential form of democracy is there. But here that there was no representative body. Particularly the representative body makes law, legislature. We have MLAs, MPs. They make law for the state as well as for the country. And there was no representative body. That is why the royal family didn't understand the problem, the ground problem. And that's why the royal family did not, particularly the public opinion did not reach to them. And they did not understand the ground situation. So there was, because there was no representative body, and because due to absence of that representative body, the royal family did not understand anything, and that became one of the reasons. So in political cause you can write these 5 points and you can explain. The next one is coming the social cause. I have made here flow chart. You can see the social cause, and in social cause I have divided into privileged class and unprivileged class, and here I have written 55% and 45%. That 55% of land, and you can see downside that, let me tell you afterwards, I'll tell you about the lands. We can divide the French society into 2 classes, the privileged class and unprivileged class. The privileged class coming the clergies and the nobles, where the clergy also you can divide higher clergies and lower clergies and nobles. Now let me tell you who were the privileged class. Privileged class were the class, they did not pay any type of tax and enjoyed their life, luxurious life they maintained. And who were they? They were clergies and nobles. And who were the clergy? Clergy were the higher post in the church, and the higher clergy, you can say, for example, in India we can the priest particularly, and in royal families they came in here in the nobles, particularly in the clergy, the higher clergies, and they did not do any job, and the lower clergies, they were doing all the job for the church. So clergies, they were powerful in the administration of Louis family, and the noble coming kings, queens, princes, and the knights. Knights are the army officers. It's a very high post where it's a respected. It was a very good position at that time. So privileged class, all they were called privileged class, and they did not pay any tax. They did not pay any tax to the government, or whereas they enjoyed their life, you can say, by birth. In my previous point I told them they were enjoying all the privileges by birth, whereas unprivileged class, they were 45% lands, they were the owner of the whereas 55% lands were occupied by the privileged class. Hello friends, now let's discuss about the social cause of the French Revolution. Before discussing, let me tell you that the Society of France was of three sections. In the first section was coming the clergy and the church people. The second section was coming the nobles, king, queen, and the nobles, and the third section was the commoners. So please remember that we can divide the French society or the French society was of three section or three group or three estate. The first estate, second estate, and third estate. In the first estate were coming the clergy. Here clergy means particularly those who were performing the religious duties in the church or the church people. Nobles were coming the king, besides the king and queens and the knights, the rich aristocrats were coming under the nobles. So be clear about the nobles and the clergy. And the third is commoners. In the commoners, particularly the government servants, the lawyers, teachers, doctors, writers, artists, traders, and industrialists. Almost all the middle class was coming in the commoners, and commoners had both wealth as well as intelligence, and afterwards they played very important role in the French Revolution. So here we can divide the privileged class and unprivileged class. If we take 100% of the land of France, the 55% of land was under the privileged class and 45% land was under the unprivileged class. I have just told you privileged class. Why they were called privileged class? Because they were not paying any type of tax to the government, whereas they were enjoying all the facilities, and it was also by birth. Generation to generation they got these facilities, and they did not perform any job. Without job they were getting money. So privileged class can be divided into clergy. Just now I told you the church people, and even that also we can divide into higher clergies and lower clergies. Higher clergies were not doing any job, they were in the higher post. For example, whatever the posts were there in the church, the higher posts they were occupying. And in the lower clergy, performing all the jobs of the church, whatever the church was doing, church was played very important roles, and they were looking after the church. So they were not happy. After doing also a lot of work, they were not getting facilities. So they were not happy, and in the French Revolution they also participated actively. You can say that they were against the higher clergy. So, and the nobles were the kings, queens were above there, but in the noble class were coming particularly the aristocrats. So, privileged class, you got it. Now, unprivileged class, I just now told you that the government servants, lawyers, teachers, writers, artists, traders, and industrialists, all they came in the unprivileged class. So, I have written here 1/5 of the land was under the clergy and 1/4 was under the nobles. So if you see, this is that, and then if we minus it, then 45% land is coming under unprivileged. So they were collecting all the tax and all the revenues that, I mean that 1/5 land and its revenue went to clergy, 1/4 revenue of the land went to nobles. So almost 55% revenue they were enjoying, and unprivileged class had 45%, and it was not sufficient because they had to pay other tax also. So this is all about the social cause, and because of this gap, because of this inequality, that social cause became one of the cause of French Revolution. So you can write in this way. Now let's discuss about the economic cause. In economic cause, you can write 2 points particularly. That also, first one is heavy national debt. In heavy national debt, you can write about maladministration. That particularly because of faulty administration, the royal family spent a lot of money. Secondly, courtiers. Courtiers means particularly those who were around the royal family's ministers, the knights, those who were helping the royal family. So the royal family was spending a lot of money on the courtiers. The second point I'm talking. And because of the Austrian War of Succession, because Louis XV took part in the War of Austrian Succession and 7 Years' War, because of such policy brought the country on the brink of bankruptcy. Half of the national income just went in here only, and there were two very successful finance ministers they had, royal family had, Turgot and Necker. But whatever they tried to bring the reform, but during the time of Louis XVI, Necker was dismissed, and he was one of the favorite. He was actually doing favor. Necker was always doing favor for the third estate and the commoners. Because of Mary Antoinette, the wife, the queen of the Louis XVI, he did not listen anything, and finally Necker was dismissed. So economic cause, you can write first point, that is called heavy national debt. In national debt, you can write about maladministration, courtiers, War of American Independence, or you can also write about the Austrian War of Succession. And in the second point is that defective system of taxation. The first thing is that the nobles and the clergies, they had 40% of the national wealth, but they did not pay a single penny to the state treasury, and the burden of taxation fell on the common man. Even the tax collection system was also very defective. So one who was supposed to collect the tax, they were not collecting tax, so they were giving private people. The royal people appointed some people to collect tax, but they did not collect tax. They appointed some private people to collect tax for them, and these private peoples were called farmers. This, remember, it may be a question that who were the farmers. So please do not write those who are doing cultivating here. Here farmers means those who were collecting revenue for the royal officers. So they were called farmers here. So private individuals, right, they collected. And what happened that just like in India also, that zamindars were collecting tax for the East India Company, and they collected more. Here also farmers, they collected more money from the people, and they exploited the common man. So in economic cause, you can write 2 points. Now we are going to discuss about one of the most important cause, that is called philosophical cause. Sometimes it is said that intellectual cause, sometimes it is called psychological cause. Particularly these four, John Locke, Rousseau, Montesquieu, and Diderot. These four philosophers, four intelligent people, four writers, four psychologists, you can say anything. There were many. If you go to Paris, you'll see the statues are there. So these four people, they played significant role, particularly in creating awareness among the people. How did they do? They wrote books. Particularly John Locke wrote 2 treatises of government. I'm just zooming, you can see 2 treatises of government. And Rousseau wrote the social contract. Montesquieu wrote the spirit of the laws, and Diderot wrote encyclopedia. Now let me tell you what they wrote, and people read that books and they understood the problem in France, and they decided to fight against the injustice. So John Locke wrote 2 treatises of government. In that he criticized about the divine rule, because the king used to tell the people that it is the decision of the government to rule. So not in France only, almost around the world, the king was considered as the representative of the god, and they took the advantage of that. So John Locke wrote he criticized many things, but particularly you can write, he criticized divine rule. Secondly, Rousseau gave more importance on the freedom of the people, and particularly he supported on the elected government in his book, The Social Contract. Particularly he gave more importance on the elected government and on the liberty, freedom of the people. Montesquieu, he wrote The Spirit of the Laws. In that book, he wrote division of power. Just like in India also we are divided around the world now following this method, that is called division of power: legislature, executive and judiciary. Legislatures, those who are making law for the country, they are elected, and executives, IAS, IPS, they are coming, and judiciary, all of you know that, judges. So power should be divided. At that time, what all the powers were in the hands of the nobles and the clergy. There was common man did not have any power. So Montesquieu advocated, told that power should be divided. That's called division of power among the legislature, executive and judiciary. And finally, Diderot wrote Encyclopedia. In that book, he criticized on the social injustice, unjust law and the despotic rule of the king. So this is all about the philosophical cause of the French Revolution. Now, without wasting time, we will discuss about the last cause, that is called immediate cause of the French Revolution. In immediate cause, we will discuss about, now let me adjust. Let me suppose the immediate cause that helped the French Revolution to start. First point is that because of the weak finance of the France, because since Louis XIV, 15 and by the time of Louis XVI, the finance of the France was in worst condition. Because we have already discussed, because of the Austrian War of Succession, because of 7 Years' War, because of the help to the American colonies, the treasure of the France was almost empty. So the weak finance also was one of the immediate cause. And Louis XVI, L16 means Louis XVI. And because of this financial crisis, Louis XVI called a council of good people, elites of the France. And the main aim is that to impose taxing the privileged class. And privileged class means nobles and clergy, but they did not agree to pay tax. So then they suggested that the States General should be called. States General means clergy, nobles and common man. These three people is called. The first States General they called in 1614, and second time it was called in 1789. When in this general was called, and what was the found that the common man, they were in majority. And when the common man, they saw their majority, they did not listen to anything, and that was the beginning of the French Revolution. So again I am repeating, in immediate cause you can write about the financial condition of France, and then Louis XVI called the council of the elites of the France, and they decided to tax the privileged class. Privileged class means the nobles and the clergy, but the privileged class denied to pay any tax, and they suggested to call States General. States General was called in 1614, and for the second time it was called in 1789. And in States General means clergy, nobles and commons, and there the common people, the commons, they had majority in the States General, so they went on, and in this way the French Revolution started. So this is all about. In the next part we will discuss about the legacy of the French Revolution.